is The Angry Octopus, your source for all things Red Wings. Here are your hosts, Aaron Habel and Aiden Wolf.
All right, we're almost at the eve of Black Friday and American Thanksgiving. Now, we already had the real one up here in Canada, Aaron.
The real one.
The real one. Do you have any plan? Like, I'm Canadian, obviously, so I don't know the traditions and all the fun you guys have down south there with Thanksgiving. Do you got any big plans for Thanksgiving and Black Friday?
Well, you know, that's the funny thing is normally I don't do anything big for Thanksgiving these days. I guess I usually just get pizza for the family. But
Nice.
This year, the wife was saying I would really like a more traditional meal. So I did go to my local meat market and they had all the fixings. They had the turkey,
nice.
the mashed potatoes. So I went and just bought all that stuff because now I can just warm it up. It actually looks really, really good. They have great stuff at this place. So yeah, we're going to have a more traditional one. And as long as the gravy holds up, I will be eating.
It's funny because we have up here whenever Thanksgiving or Christmas comes around, there's a couple organizations that they offer a fully done Thanksgiving meal for like $200 for like 8 people. And the money, all proceeds that they make off of it go to homeless shelters and stuff like that. So that's usually my go-to because I hate cooking Thanksgiving or Christmas meals. I'm married to a vegetarian, so it's ridiculous. Like doing a full turkey up is ridiculous. I usually do burgers and mac and cheese. That's my holiday meal. So.
And do you call it mac and cheese there? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Why?
The Canadians I know all call it craft dinner.
Oh, no. I do like fresh mac and cheese. Like there's a girl, Teeny, I think her name is, on Instagram. And she does like all Southern foods and like how to make it. And it's actually quite a famous recipe for mac and cheese. This stuff will give you a heart attack if you eat too much of it though. But yeah, so that's kind of my go-to for that. Craft dinner is good and all, but that's not for it. Definitely not for a celebration.
That's more
Black
like
Friday.
when you're in a pinch.
Yeah, Black Friday. Is it still really big? It's kind of fallen off up here in Canada. It's not quite as big as it used to be. Is this still like people fighting over stuff in stores for you guys?
You know, I don't know that it is like that. And I feel like it's become very much a holiday that's a push by the corporations. So it's here whether we pay attention or not. I know I'm inundated right now with Black Friday sales, but one neat thing that happened was I was ordering something for my son, and this website, it's a band website for a group or whatever, and I didn't know it. I didn't see where it was posted that there's a sale, but as soon as I put something in my cart, it was priced down for Black Friday, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, I usually save any big purchases for either Black Friday or Boxing Day. And I've got to redo my computer, so I think I'm going to be hitting up Newegg and a few other options this Friday. So,
yeah, I used to order from Newegg all the time. One thing you have to be aware of on there, I'm sure you know, but they have a lot of items on there by other sellers.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really tricky. So you kind of have to pay attention who will actually be shipping you the item.
Yeah, and it's actually a lot of places have been doing that. Best Buy up here does that now. So you're buying from some guy in Florida. It's like, no, I didn't want to buy some guy from Florida. Anyways, rough week for the Wings. I would say, if you're summing this up, they had a good rough, I would say 10 minutes in one game. Another game, they just got completely outplayed and showed some rough goaltending. What was your kind of overall arching theme for the last week for the Red Wings?
Well, let's look at the last 3 games. So they played the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, and the Devils. And I would say the Islanders continue to be a problem for Detroit. And honestly, there are a lot of times when I see a blowout game or something like this, and I just think, you know what? It's one game. But there is something to the way that the Islanders have played Detroit. They're faster. They seem to be in the better position when the puck battles are happening in the middle of the ice. They're doing a better job of ending up with the puck. So there is some concern there. I think it gives the Wings something to work on. Other than that, I feel like overall the Wings feel like they're settling down into knowing their roles, knowing what to do. And we saw that with the last two games, I'd argue, between the Blue Jackets, where they won 4-3, and the loss against the Devils that was 3-4. Even in that loss, Detroit looked like they were battling hard. I mean, they had some bad time in the middle there. But other than that, that last period, especially towards the end, Detroit was dominating. They were all over the place. The chances they had, the setups they were doing, everybody was doing a marvelous job. So I think as long as they know their roles and they're battling, they're going to be winning more games and they're going to stay near the top of the division.
Yeah, I found like in the Blue Jackets game, you have the Blue Jackets showing a lot of signs of life right now. Jet Greaves, Adam Fantilli are starting to like blow up right now. They had the same thing against the Leafs, and the Leafs are actually visiting them tonight, I believe. And it's still a problem. Like Jet seems to have everybody's number right now. So yeah, it was an interesting game, and it was a decent game. Jersey, though, goodness gracious. There was a point at the end of the first period where it was 3 goals on 6 shots. And like, to be fair to Talbot, he didn't have a chance on any of them, but that's also relative to the team in front of him and the chances that they're kind of giving up. And the fourth goal was rough. Seeing the team come back was definitely like, you needed to see that to be able to come out of that feeling good about the week. But I saw the same defensive breakdowns against the Islanders, and I found like there's some mirroring between the Blue Jackets and not the Blue Jackets, the Islanders and Jersey, and seeing how those goals were coming about. And while the Islanders, you ended up getting up against Gibson, just he found a bed to crap in. I don't know what happened with him. He's just really trailing off. And you had Ilya Sorokin standing on his head. He played a great game for the Islanders. Even when Detroit put pressure on, he was giving nothing up. And that game specifically showed you the difference between goaltenders when you have Gibson in. And you mentioned it earlier before we started recording. You need a save. That you can let goals in as a goaltender. But when push comes to shove, there's sometimes you need to stop the puck. And I felt like John Gibson's let them down in that regard completely.
Yeah, there's a whole conversation to be had about John Gibson right now. But before we move on to that, I really want to talk about between those two games, the Blue Jackets and the Devils, what I saw was a Detroit team that can battle because they're not going to have an easy game every time out. And as we know, I mean, the game's only getting better. The average player today is better than the average player 30 years ago, easily. The level of skill, the level of just preparation, I mean, everything is getting better. And that makes it harder for a team to really stand out. I know right now we have Colorado, who looks like a juggernaut. But on the average, most teams out there, they're at the top of their divisions. They're doing very well, but they're still having some losses here and there. No one's immune to that. So really the question is the Detroit team ready to answer? Because even when they answer, they're not always going to win. But there is that feeling that as long as they commit and they stick to the plan, that they're going to win a lot of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all comes down to, once again, their goaltending showing up when it needs to. And Cam Talbot has been great for that. Talbot making some amazing saves in both games. And the team in front, you're right, battling and not giving up those ridiculous chances like they did in the first period against Jersey. I also do want to point out with the Jersey game, those jerseys are horrible. The New Jersey thirds, the alternates or whatever they want to call it, they look like referees. I could, when they showed them shot from here up, it was like, that's not a ref, is it?
It looked like a basketball jersey to me.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. It looked like a mix of like college and basketball and referee. And it's kind of a mess. But, they can't all look great.
Well, also, my favorite is the fact that they've got Jersey on there. Not New Jersey, just Jersey on their jersey. And it's their alternate jersey. So
I think it's lost on them. If they're listening, they'll hear it.
Well, you know what? I mean, I would prefer you guys lean into the Devils theme for the alternate. Maybe not the city or the abbreviated city name. I don't know.
But the problem with this is just like in baseball, you had the Tampa team, right? You know what I'm talking about? They didn't want to be the Devils, right? So they had to figure out the whole Devil Ray thing. They didn't like Devil Ray, so they had to get rid of Devil. And I'm wondering if Jersey deals with that too. I would hope not, because it's New Jersey. New Jersey is known for their attitude. And I would like to think they'd lean into the Devils. Maybe they'll listen, and next time they do a jersey like this, they'll have Devils on there.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, they should be taking feedback on these alternate jerseys. And the reason I say that is not necessarily like, how dare you release something without asking us, but we're the people buying those things. And like, I'm a game. I'll buy any jersey, like any team. If it's a good jersey, good player on the back, sure. There's no way in hell I'm dropping my money on those new jerseys by Jersey. God, that's just confusing.
No, hey, you know what? The NHL's got a lot of good swag, a lot of good merch. And Jersey's one of those teams that they've had some phenomenal merch over the years. This is just a complete dud. Yeah. And I say that with all due respect because I really like Jersey. I think they've got a great team. They've had great logos, but yeah, this one's a miss. And I think it especially is apparent now with jerseys like what Detroit has.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of other teams kind of stepping up, but I mean, at least just kind of crowdsource a bit. Maybe ask somebody that's kind of on the fan end of things and not necessarily on the corporate end of things. I think maybe that might be a decent idea if you want to sell any of them.
Yeah, it could be.
But yeah, walking out with 2 points out of 3 games is pretty rough. Now let's kind of touch on the goaltending issues. Cam Talbot obviously has cemented him as the number one. Like by this point, we can finally say Cam Talbot is the boss here. Is Gibson a good enough number 2?
Well, before we move off of Talbot, I want to say after last year, there were some questions about Talbot. You know, he's pretty good, but can he be the guy to lead this team in the goal? And I think he's showing so far that he is the guy. I've already seen enough of him now that I have a lot of confidence in him. But I do know that there's a lot of word around the league that people are saying, well, if you remember, he sort of fades.
Yeah.
And I am not believing that's going to happen this year. That's just the way I'm looking at it. Now, as for Gibson, he's off to a really rough start. What does he have? He has 4 wins in 12 games. And I think one of those was a game that Talbot took over because he got injured. He took some hits right to the head. The stat that I'm seeing is 3.46 goals against average and an 870 save percentage. Now, we know how the save percentage works based on how many shots and based on how many saves. And what this tells us is that he's below expectations.
Well below.
We would think that he would be at least at 9, I would argue, if not higher than that. And I know everyone's saying, well, what about his age, this and that? No, I'm not looking at it the age because look at Talbot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's an age thing. I think what we're looking at here is either Gibson needs more time, and what I would argue is maybe you just keep him out of net for a while. Get him into practices. Make him work on things. Go over the basics. Whatever you got to do. You have a goaltenders coach. Work with him. I don't think he's lost cause yet, but I can get why a lot of people would think he was. And now moving on, you got Talbot in net, so we're okay. But you know what? At some point, you're going to need someone stepping in because Talbot can't do every game. And do you go, well, maybe he's not ready yet, so now we're going to bring up Kosa because now the Kosa talk has started again because Kosa is doing great. But of course, his whole team is great. So I don't know if that's a real reflection on him, although people say it is. They say he's been outstanding.
The question I have, though, is when you look at the relationship between goaltender and team, it's a lot like the coach and the team, where if you lose the belief in the coach, if the coach loses the room, the team loses. The same thing kind of goes for the goaltender, and you'll notice when there's no trust between team and goaltender, things start to fall apart. And you can see the team plays differently in front of Talbot. Like by a mile. Like there was some rough patches in the Jersey game, like definite rough. That first period was abominable, but the team still picked it back up and fought back. But when you have games like the Islanders where the team just almost gave up in front of Gibson. And like there was so many, and you can't take anything away from the Islanders either and how well they play, but man, you got to look at that and think, has Gibson lost the room? Does Gibson still have the support of his team behind him? Maybe that's why you bring Kosa up.
I would say the thing is they can't just rush him out of there. I know that's what the fans want. A lot of the fans just want instant satisfaction. Oh, he wasn't doing well, we got rid of him. But that's not the way the world works. I mean, they brought Gibson in because they believed in him. And I would argue there were times where Talbot didn't look so great in the past when he was brought over. So the thing is do you give this veteran some time and some understanding? Because I would argue those players on the Red Wings, especially the veterans, they probably are ready to put their faith back in him. But you're going to need to work on things. They can't just give it to him. But if they know he's been working on stuff and he goes, hey, guys, I'm ready for the game tonight, I think they're ready for that. But the thing is you got to get there yet. And it's so early. I mean, it's just now that Talbot really has taken over again. And it feels like, where's Gibson? But they're going to have to put him back in net. I don't know when they do that, because right now it's more of a liability. And you don't want this team to slip too much. So there's a lot riding on it. It shows the importance of every part of the team. And I think we have a lot of good news with the Wings. I know they only got 2 points out of 6, but when you look at the overall picture, it feels like that team is working hard. You got Larkin and DeBrincat. They're on fire. They're doing great. We just need Gibson to show up. And then if they can get that working again, then, man, they've got just a little bit of trouble to deal with. They got to figure out what to do with some of these players on their team that haven't quite worked out, and maybe they can work with those guys and figure out what to do with them next.
Yeah, because as soon as you bring Kosa up, and if you're a fan thinking Kosa is going to come in and save you, as soon as you bring him up, Gibson's done. That you break Gibson, unless he's injured, which is also on the table and plausible that he's been playing through something. Doubtful by just watching the games and seeing how things have kind of unfolded. But as soon as you bring Kosa up, you break him. He's being replaced by a kid coming up from the minors, right? Like that. Goaltenders those egos are rough, man. They break easily and they can have rough years just based on how they're feeling. And I kind of don't want to see that happen to him. I'd rather see them trade him if they're going to bring Kosa up. If you're going to put a little bit of energy into developing your young goaltender into being the backup, which isn't a bad idea, you need to trade Gibson first. You need to give him the opportunity to walk away before he gets broken by the team. No?
Yeah, no, I think he's due that respect. I know a lot of people feel like he's let them down, but we don't know what he's going through. And I can tell you, I believe 100% that Gibson wants to be the guy for Detroit. The question is, can he get there? So yeah, we need to spend a little more time working on this and not just go for plan B, because plan B involves bringing Kosa up. And there's a risk there too, because if he comes up and the NHL is a little different than the AHL, now you're risking him. And I feel like they need to play it carefully. And I believe the team will play it carefully with these guys.
Yeah, in the AHL, a lot of people see the performance in the AHL, especially by goaltenders, as being they're going to be fine. Look at how great they're doing. But the AHL is such a weird entity, and the nothing transfers over. I'll give you a good example. Joseph Woll, coming back for the Toronto Maple Leafs, his conditioning stint in the AHL, he looked horrendous. He looked unplayable. He looked lost. He was garbage, and they're just like, well, I guess we'll bring him in. We've got to do something. Stollers is out, and Joseph Woll stands on his head, and he's doing great. And then the other way things, you've got a goaltender that's like blowing the lights out in the AHL, comes up to the NHL and cannot stay here. And talking about breaking goaltenders, young goaltenders getting shelled in the NHL does nothing for them. So yeah, be careful what you wish for when it comes to bringing a goaltender up from the AHL, because things can go horribly awry for that.
Yeah, and I've listened to the Detroit goaltenders over the years, and they say that the mental game is so important. Just their attitude in the game, having confidence in themselves, being able to just say, hey, the goal went in, it's whatever. They got to score. Now we're going to reset. We're going to get back to work, and if you break that goaltender, whether you say, you know, hey, you're not good enough, which is what you're saying when you replace him with a youngin, after he's been a veteran goaltender, led teams for years, or if you just say, we're going to demote you. Right now, I think they're playing that careful game of, well, you're still there. We haven't come out and said that you're going anywhere. I'm sure they're working with them, and we just have to have some more patience. I don't know how much time you give them. I'm prepared to give the team a lot of time. I don't know on an individual player. That's for the coaches, the GM to figure out.
Yeah, and also the games as they get harder and more meaningful, right? Like as you start getting into February, you can't be dropping 4 points in a road trip. You need to pick up all those points if you want to stay in the hunt for the playoffs. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think he's got till the new year. I don't think anything's changing right away. So yeah, you can get your underwear out of a bunch, and you don't have to worry about anything massive happening pre-Christmas. I don't think. I think you're going to see a couple trades maybe here or there, but teams that are in the hunt already, I don't think you're going to see any massive changes. So outside of those last 3 games, though, it's still, even with only 2 points, Red Wings still in the hunt. They're still in the top 3 of the Atlantic. Things are looking great. Do you see any concerning patterns going forward? I mean, we've got Nashville tonight, Tampa Friday, Boston Saturday, and then Boston, it's a home and home. They're coming back against Boston on Tuesday. Do you see any things that like need to be like kind of hammered out before we get to the next episode next week?
Well, no, I think these games are going to be important games. I think they're winnable games for Detroit. I would like to think after this next series of games, they'll have, looks like they'll have 3 at home, 1 away. I think they should come home with at least 3 out of the 4 as wins. That's what I'm hoping for. But you just never know. And we're going to see how things play out. We're going to see, is Detroit going to put Gibson back in? What's that going to look like? They've been shaking up their lines, you know?
Yeah.
Having guys play in different spots, especially on when they do the power plays. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I'm thinking this is a well-coached team. There's a lot of talent on it. A lot of guys still learning. A lot of growth there. Hey, we'll see how Danielson's doing. We'll see how Finney's doing. I just am looking forward, and also to see how Comfer's doing, because I'll tell you what, I've complained before about Rasmussen and Kopp and Comfer, but I'll tell you what, it really feels to me like Comfer is working his tail off out there. That guy's got a motor. He's been trying to use it, and I feel like he's trying to show up. It's just, you know, things haven't really clicked for him as well as he'd want.
Yeah, you see him going into the corners, all the passion in the world, and trying to dig those pucks out of the corners.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of good stuff from him. I don't think there's necessarily anything to worry about in regards to him. It's the laziness, it's the lackadaisical attitude that you see from some players. That's the stuff that has to be cut off with a knife. So,
well, it's just funny because I heard Kopp talking the other day about how he wants to be one of those guys that has the attitude that he's going to be trouble for the other team, but it's Comfer who seems to be doing that. So I'm just happy with Comfer. I like the attitude he has. I like how he's willing to use his body any which way to make sure to shut down something or to make something happen or even to get in the face of the opponent.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what the team needs to show everyone else that this is the passion, the energy you need to bring every night.
Yep.
If you don't have that on your team, if you don't have that person, the Kachuk effect as it is, sometimes the team just needs that little boost. I would say the back-to-back Tampa and Boston, I could see Gibson getting Tampa on Friday. Boston's a little bit harder. Right now, Boston's been kind of surging, the kind of faltering as well a little bit, but I could see trusting in Boston with Talbot a little bit more. Tampa seems to be less of a concern, I would say anyway. So I would be interested to see which one Gibson does get. I can guarantee you he's getting at least one. With a back-to-back like that, you can't run Talbot that hard. So
right. Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. The Olympics is coming up. We've got kind of taking shape. You've got a lot of the Team USA, Team Canada. Nothing's written in stone yet, though. And there have been some rumors flying about how Team Canada is going to be doing. And coming off Four Nations last year, where Canada beat the US in just a wild end. If you watched Four Nations, that was just an amazing end.
Yeah, if you missed it, go back and watch it on YouTube.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Absolutely. It's a little bit painful to watch, I'm not going to lie, but basically the same crew are being shipped back for the same battle. Team USA showing, and this is what I've got. Now, you've got a different one. This comes from NHL.com, my list. Yours is a little different, so let's do a little bit of comparisons here. This is a forward group for the US, Team US. We got Matt Boldy from Minnesota Wild, Cole Caulfield, Kyle Connor, Eichel, Gensel, Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, JT Miller, Jason Robertson, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk is obviously, and Tage Thompson. How's that looking compared to your?
Well, there's a name that you mentioned that's not on my list.
Oh.
I believe I have Eichel, Matthews, both Tkachuks, Boldy, Caulfield, Connor, Gensel, Hughes, Keller, Nyes, Larkin, Robertson, Thompson. Or is it the same list? I feel like you have JT Miller and I do not.
You don't have JT Miller. Who do you have in place of JT Miller?
That's a good question.
Hard to tell, yeah. There's a lot of names we just rattled off.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. What stands out to me is Larkin absolutely needs to be on the list. And I'm not just saying that as a Detroit fan. The guy needs to be on the list.
Yep,
also,
absolutely.
Tage Thompson. I think Tage Thompson needs to be on the list.
Yep.
Actually, one of the names that stood out to me, no offense, is Austin Matthews.
Well, I mean, no offense taken. He's been underperforming, but he's been injured too.
That's what I'm saying, but that's where people say maybe JT Miller shouldn't be on the list because, of how he's been. And some of these guys have been injured. So do you keep a guy on there even though he's injured? I don't know. That's going to be a question for the Olympics.
I don't think there's any reality where you sit Austin Matthews. And this isn't just the Leaf fan in me. The guy's a prolific scorer. He scores. Last year was a bad year and he still had 40 goals. I don't foresee him being a problem even at 80%. There is still a lot of time before the Olympics and they are projecting him to be back tonight. I will say he has been a little bit injury prone over the past couple of years, which would cause me a little bit of concern, but he's not that far removed from almost getting 70 goals. Like, who do you replace him with? If you're not going to put Austin Matthews on, who are you putting in his place that is going to be able to outperform him, even injured? Right?
Well, that's going to be the question. If he's going to be injured, that's easy. You don't put him in. But if he's not injured and he's just underperformed a bit, I think the wisdom out there is that you put him on there anyway because he's absolutely one of the best U.S. players. So that's what gets him in, right? But there are young guys that are out there right now that could slip in there. I think this list is kind of missing some of the youth that's out there that could potentially creep in that we're not ready for because typically they don't do that. But I think in this day and age with how the youth's showing up, there could be one surprise. We'll see. And we do have some time, but I think it's interesting to look at the list. And obviously I think Jack Eichel absolutely has to be on this list and as well Jack Hughes. So if Jack Hughes, Eichel, Larkin are on there, and Thompson, those are the guys that I most think belong on that list, and I'm glad to see their names mentioned.
I feel bad for saying this. The only one I'm looking at is Cole Caulfield, and wondering if there couldn't be an upgrade on him. I don't know who would be the upgrade, and maybe that's just the Leaf fan inside of me going, "You Montreal." Plausible. It is plausible, man. There's definitely some feelings there, but I do see like you do have the age on here. I mean, you got Jake Gensel. I mean, Kyle Connor kind of. But I mean, outside of that, you don't really have too much. Oh, JT Miller's getting up there as well, but JT Miller this year he's been underperforming a bit, but so have the Rangers. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Bill Guerin is in charge of this. And while he said he is starting from scratch, I do have to say if this is the lineup he goes with, not much is changing from Four Nations. Now, looking at defense, I don't know if you have that up.
I have it.
This is where things start to look a little scary for Team USA versus Canada. Brock Faber, Quinn Hughes, good God, Seth Jones, God, Charlie McAvoy, Brett Pesce, Jake Sanderson, Jacob Slavin, Zach Rowensky. Holy crap. That's a blue line, man. Is that the same one you've got from USA
Let me read
Today?
mine off. Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, Brock Faber, Adam Fox, Seth Jones, Noah Hannafin, Jake Sanderson, Zach Rowensky.
You got a few extra. Noah Hannafin. Oh, wow.
These are the guys that could be there. Now, obviously, Quinn Hughes, if you're going to guarantee one guy to make this entire team, it's got to be Quinn Hughes, in my opinion.
I think Seth Jones belongs on that list as well.
Sure, but I'm saying number one on offense or defense, I'm saying Quinn Hughes is going to be there.
The Charlie McAvoy, he is injured right now. I can see him. He's the kind of person you want on your blue line. He's the guy that people are going to be a little afraid of. He's a little bit more the beef that they need on that line. Seth
he absolutely
Jones
has to be there. If he's not injured, they're going to get.
Yeah,
he's gonna
absolutely. That's interesting. Wow, there's a lot of talent on that blue line for the Team US. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I see no problems with that. I see that's going to be a freaking nightmare for Canada. And the real nightmare is just below that with the goaltenders. So if you were coach of Team Canada, here's your three options in net. Which one are you going with? Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, or Jeremy Swayman? I think Swayman's your number three, to be fair. You've got Ottinger and you got Hellebuck. Who you going with?
That's such a tough call because we know that Hellebuck is the best guy on this list, but he's also the guy that has kind of let down in the playoffs. But this isn't the playoffs, and maybe it's different. So I don't know. I guess if I had to say right now, I would say it's in order. Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman. But if they switch Ottinger and Hellebuck, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's funny because last year Ottinger got called out by his coach, who got unceremoniously fired right after for not being a playoff performer as well. I would say the only really untested and what probably the most successful is Swayman at playoff performance. However, man, I think you're right. I think Hellebuck it's his job to lose. And if for some reason he's not up to it, Jake Ottinger for sure. I mean, it's Connor Hellebuck, for crying out loud. He's the best goaltender in the NHL right now. He took over from Vasilevsky easily. So
no, he's the guy that came after Vasilevsky, and that's no small feat. So Hellebuck comes with all the pedigree. It's just there is that question of when there's championships on the line. That's where we're waiting to see him come through. But he still has a lot of believers. There are people that say he can bounce back. He'll be back. He's learning. He's getting better at this. Because it is such a mental game. So we'll see. Yep. We'll see what happens. I'm sure that Hellebuck's worked on this. And like I said, I like how you said it's his job to lose. That's really, that's the truth of it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put money against him. As much as we sit here and go, he has a hard time. I wouldn't put $1 against that guy.
You wouldn't, ask yourself, would you take Hellebuck if he was able to come to your team?
Well, we're about to go through Canada's goaltending. So, that's a good question. Okay, so let's look at Team Canada here. Let's zoom this in a little bit. The forward line, this is the terrifying line for the Team Canada. And I'm sorry to Team USA. You guys have nothing on this. Sam Bennett, Anthony Cirelli, Sidney Crosby, Brandon Hagel, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, Connor McDavid. Oh, crap. It just gets worse. Braden Point, Sam Reinhart, Mark Scheifele, Mark Stone, Nick Suzuki, which I don't think is going to make it, and Robert Thomas from the St. Louis Blues. I'm also not exactly sure he's going to make it either. Yeah, if you had a forward line to take between US and Canada, which one's yours?
Well, it's Canada. I mean, you can just see it from Bennett to McKinnon to McDavid.
Yeah,
And then you have
Marchand.
Crosby.
Yeah.
And then you have the young, I don't know. I'm looking at this and I think it's easily Canada's game to, this is their chance, is their offense.
Yeah.
This is their strongest aspect, and it's stronger than US's, at least on paper. But we'll see how the chemistry works out.
It's chemistry, but it's also everyone's got to be firing on the same cylinders, right? Like, I would like you could look at guys like Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart. Those are two guys that can't be off this team. They just fresh off Stanley Cups, and they're some of the best performers in hard to play games is the best way to put it. They even though Sam Bennett doesn't really perform during the season, you put any kind of pressure on him and he outperforms everyone else. And then you just have like the deal breakers, right? Like the Connor McDavids, even Mitch Marner to a degree, Nathan McKinnon. I don't know, man. I like you could literally sit Suzuki and Thomas, which I have a feeling if they do make it, they're going to be sitting. Because I mean, even Mark Stone, for crying out loud. It's just such a ridiculous lineup. I don't see anyone else getting on here that could take anybody else off. Like,
No,
I don't see
it's an amazing list.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying it. McKinnon blows me away with the way he approaches the game, and McDavid's got all the skill in the world. And then you have one of the best all time, Crosby. I mean, that guy's knowledge, his ability to set up plays. I think this team has it all on the offense, and I don't know that there's a better offense in this tournament coming up if this list stays the way it is.
And it's also crazy. Like the crazy concept of this is Sidney Crosby might be their fourth line center. Think about that for a second. The guy who won them the gold medal in 2010 may be their fourth line center. And Crosby is not a fourth line center. He deserves first or second line center. But there's just so much on here that it's really hard to make a case for anything but. But I mean, yeah, through and through, they're going to have an amazing forward line.
That's a coach's choice, and they may just put him up higher because of who he is and how much he's done. Yeah. But I, you do have to think, well, the first line, we probably know how that'll play out.
Okay, so this is where things start to fall apart a bit for Team Canada is on the defensive line. Evan Bouchard, cringe hard. Drew Doughty, who, I mean, he still has been one of the best defensemen for the past however many years he's been playing, but he's been getting on. Thomas Harley, Cale Makar, which is one of the few standouts. Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, Shea Theodore, Devin Taves. I don't see this being a better blue line than the U.S.
No, but they do have Cale Makar. Cale Makar is, if you don't have Quinn Hughes as your number one, then it's Makar. So yeah, the guy's brilliant. And, like I said, Colorado's been awesome. You have to put Colorado players on your team if they're available. And for Team Canada, you got Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon. That's awesome. So, you might look overall and say, well, they don't have quite the players that the U.S. has, but, it's not everything. If you can outscore the other team and you can stay ahead of them, that might be all they need.
The scary thing is the names like Evan Bouchard. The problem with guys like him is, the way he approaches the game in the playoffs, he seems to do really well, but man, oh man, he's one of those guys that's Jekyll and Hyde. It puts no effort into back checking, puts no effort into really the defensive end of the game. It's like, dude, you're a defenseman. It's in the name.
Well, maybe prepare to be surprised because maybe this defense lineup isn't going to be what we'll see. Obviously, some of the names on this list, there are a few names on this list I guarantee you will be there, but we could have some surprises too.
Yeah, I'm fingers crossed, although Noah Dobson, it mentions some of it here. Owen Power, Alex Pietrangelo. We'll see. All right. So, and lastly, we have the goaltenders, and this is where it really comes apart. And, oh, God, Jordan Binnington is their number one. That's just Four Nation face off. Dude seemed to just pull it out of his rear. Like he's confusing as all hell. Because you see him like just one of the biggest meatheads during the season. And then when things are on the line, he seems to outperform. So fingers crossed we get that Binnington this year. I would say
good,
Logan
he's really good. That's
yeah.
If you catch him on a good night, that's what you want to see from your goaltender. It's just, where does he go sometimes? We don't know.
Yeah, Logan Thompson, I think, is the number one here, is in my mind, from Washington Capitals. Aiden Hill has been having a rough time of things in Vegas. But again, he's a third best. And you know how bad this gets, this list, because if these guys start getting hurt, our next up is Montembeault from Montreal, the guy that's been getting shelled and has been showing nothing but he leaks. He just leaks like a sieve. I'm a little scared that if we don't walk into the Olympics with Binnington and Thompson at least, we're going to have Montembeault on that. Sorry, Montreal, and this isn't me jumping on you, but I think he's let in like 14 goals over 3 games or something like that.
Well, I know you're not just picking on him. I mean, I've heard you give a lot of respect to that team. So
yeah,
it's not really about that. It's about the performance, and you want Team Canada to succeed. So you're hoping that they get a good lineup. You're just not sure how good the lineup's going to be, even if they get their ideal players. And if they have to go to a backup player, now you're really concerned.
So what is the, when we look at these two together, what are you taking away? What's the winner here? You've got team US, Team Canada. Now, don't forget, you've got some solid lineups with Team Sweden, Team Finland. There's some good talent out there, and Sweden and Finland have been surprising us for years.
Yeah, Sweden will be very good, I'm sure. But no, this is for the purposes of USA versus Canada. You know, it's a rivalry as old as time in hockey. Yeah. So this is what's special. It doesn't mean that's how it's going to play out. But watching these teams play each other, if I had to pick right now, I think I'm leaning towards Team USA. But, you know, it's hard to say because I know Canada's going to bring it. They don't want to lose the Olympics. They're going to go for gold. So do they have enough to win it? I don't know. We're going to see.
I'm giving the edge to the U.S. too. I think that there's too many questions in net that are we going to get the right Binnington in net? Is Logan Thompson going to be enough? There's so many questions around that. Whereas, while I don't like the forward group of the U.S. anywhere near as much as I like Canada, they can still score goals, man. Like they're not going to be back on their heels. And if we run into a really hot Hellebuck, it's going to be problematic for Team Canada. So I think, I'm giving US probably.
No, but I'm looking forward to it. The most I want really at the end of the day is I just want good games.
Yeah.
I might be Team USA, but I just want good games. That's how I am with hockey. You know, I just want good, solid games. I'd love to see my team win, but there's nothing like seeing the great goals. And I pointed out before, but watching Kane score to give the Blackhawks the Stanley Cup, that was one of my favorite goals of all time. And back then I wasn't much of a fan because he was a Blackhawk, you know?
Yeah.
And yet it might be my favorite goal all time for winning the cup. So let's just get some good hockey going.
My favorite goal of all time, I've got a couple. Doug Gilmour in 93. The behind the net. Oh man, who was that again? Anyways, the other one is a golden goal. Sidney Crosby scoring it in 2010. I watched that game with my in-laws, and they had never watched a hockey game before, which blows my mind as Canadians. But even they were cheering. That was such an amazing goal. Anyways, you speak of Patrick Kane, do you? We're going to close this one off. Kane's only 20 points off breaking the record of the most points scored by a U.S.-born player with 1,355. Now, you obviously know who the number one U.S.-born player is in the NHL, right? Of all time. Not
Modano.
There it is.
But, you know, that's the funny thing is if you just watch these guys play, I would argue Kane's maybe a bit more impressive. And I don't say that lightly because I'm actually from the same area that Modano's from. There's an ice rink with his name on it, very close to where I used to live in Michigan.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it lightly. I'm just saying when it comes to the talent level, there's something special about Kane. Modano was obviously a solid guy, a great player. He earned those points, but I fully expect Patrick Kane to take that. And I think Modano's is too, because he just recently said he's going to try and make it happen where he's at the arena when Kane breaks his record. He wants to be there and he loves it. And there's a lot of respect between the two guys.
You know what? It comes from the era when it comes to Mike Modano. I still remember Jeremy Roenick being the highly touted, like, best U.S. born player, and Mike Modano and the same thing. And I still remember, like, from the lens of a Canadian, growing up with the Wayne Gretzky's, the Mark Messier's, all of these amazing names, and the U.S. players didn't really cut. There wasn't really that much that impressive coming out of the U.S. program. And nowadays you have so much better, so much so that the Team US is scary. I'm wondering, and he's obviously going to break the record. Fingers crossed everything stays good for him. I want to see him do it. But with the new class of US talent coming up, how long is that record going to last? Because out of all the players that are active right now, guess who number 2 is? The second closest to that active right now. And it's probably going to shock you.
Yeah, no, you'll have to tell me. I don't have a name popping in my head.
Austin Matthews. Out of all of and this has been the history of U.S. hockey and how far it's come over the past 20 years, is Austin Matthews, after 7 years in the league, is already the second player active on that list.
It shouldn't shock me, though. I mean, Austin Matthews, we know he's a goal scorer. The guy can put up points. The real question will be is, where is his team going to be along the next 5-10 years? Because we know that'll affect it.
Yeah, well,
because if that team rises, his point totals will go up too.
Yeah, that does affect it. And it's going to be not just that, it's also his injury issues that he's been showing over the past couple of years. Like, still, even with his injuries, he's still on pace to break Ovechkin's goal record. Like, if you compare them, he's ahead of Ovechkin where Ovechkin was at this point in his career. And Ovechkin got locked out his first season. Like, that there's been a lot of, like, Ovechkin came on fire and stayed strong throughout his whole career. Can Matthews do that? Can Matthews keep that point total going? But even without Matthews aside and a lot of the great talent in the U.S., I see that this isn't going to be the last time somebody breaks that record in this decade. I think we're going to see a lot more.
Yeah, it's a great point. Austin Matthews, he looks like the guy that can get that done and take over as the number one. I still think there's something about Kane that's pretty special. I got to give it to him. You know, I was watching the game the other night against Jersey, and there's something about the way Kane plays where he slows the game down, unlike anybody else. It's almost like time slows. It's like bullet time almost, the way he can drag that puck and kind of glide in, and everybody kind of gets ready because they don't know what he's going to do because he's so good at setting up plays. But his skill level is just different. The way he plays the game is just different. But Modano and Matthews, these guys like Ovechkin are goal scorers. And so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, thinking about it. Matthews could be the guy to just take it right back away from Kane at some point. And Kane's the student of the game. He loves the game. I'm sure he's fine with that. But to get to that point and make that part of your history, that's where it's important.
And just for that all to happen, the Leafs have to do something as well. We'll see about that. And we're going to update that next week because I really want to see how this week goes for the Leafs. It's been kind of miserable, and it looks like Matthews is back tonight. So anyways, that's all I have. So happy Thanksgiving, buddy. Hopefully you enjoy the meal with family and all that stuff. And I'll see you next week. Probably a little fatter with all the Black Friday stuff on my lap. So have yourself a great week, buddy.
Lots of boxes coming in, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. You know you can find us on YouTube as well. Till next time.